What if some of the foods sitting in your kitchen right now were quietly adding more salt to your diet than you ever realized? Many men over 60 pay attention to the salt shaker at the dinner table, but researchers have found that most dietary sodium doesn't come from the salt we add ourselves. Instead, it often comes from everyday packaged and processed foods that don't even taste particularly salty. Over time, consuming too much sodium may contribute to elevated blood pressure in some people. Today, we'll look at 7 hidden foods that may be raising blood pressure after 60 and explain why researchers continue studying their role in cardiovascular health. One food near the end surprises almost everyone because it's often marketed as a healthy choice. Hello, I'm Dr. Natalie, and welcome to Men's Health Today. Our goal is to help men over 50 better understand healthy aging through evidence-based medical education. If you enjoy learning about heart health, prostate health, nutrition, sexual health, and longevity, consider subscribing so you don't miss our future videos. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Blood pressure is influenced by many factors, including age, genetics, medical conditions, medications, physical activity, and overall dietary patterns. If you have concerns about your blood pressure or heart health, please speak with a qualified healthcare professional for personalized guidance. Now, let's begin. Meet Robert. Robert is 68 years old. He thought he was eating a healthy diet. He rarely added salt to his meals. He avoided fast food, and he believed he was making smart choices every day. But during a routine medical visit, he learned that his blood pressure was higher than expected. Confused, he asked his healthcare provider how that could happen if he barely used table salt. His doctor explained something that surprised him. Many packaged foods contain significant amounts of sodium, even foods that don't taste salty. That conversation encouraged Robert to start paying closer attention to nutrition labels rather than relying on taste alone. Robert's experience is more common than many people realize. Researchers continue emphasizing that sodium intake often comes from unexpected sources rather than the salt shaker. Let's begin with the first hidden food. Canned soups are convenient, affordable, and easy to prepare. However, many commercially prepared soups contain surprisingly large amounts of sodium. Manufacturers often use sodium to enhance flavor and extend shelf life. Even varieties labeled as healthy can sometimes contain more sodium than people expect. This doesn't mean canned soup should never be eaten. Instead, researchers encourage becoming familiar with nutrition labels so consumers can compare products and make informed choices. Many companies now offer reduced sodium versions, giving consumers more options than in the past. Does soup always raise blood pressure? No. Blood pressure is influenced by many factors. Researchers are primarily interested in a person's overall dietary pattern, not one individual meal. One important lesson from nutrition research is that sodium adds up throughout the day. Rather than focusing on one food, healthcare professionals often encourage looking at the total amount of sodium consumed across all meals and snacks. The next food is found in millions of refrigerators, and most people don't even think of it as being particularly salty. Yet researchers continue identifying it as one of the most common hidden sources of sodium. Let's take a closer look at hidden food number 2. Hidden food 2, bread and bakery products. When people think about salty foods, bread usually isn't the first thing that comes to mind. After all, bread doesn't taste nearly as salty as potato chips or pretzels. But researchers have consistently found that bread and bakery products can be one of the largest contributors to daily sodium intake. The reason isn't that each slice contains an extremely high amount of sodium. It's that many people eat bread several times throughout the day. Toast at breakfast, a sandwich at lunch, and perhaps rolls of bread with dinner. Small amounts can add up over time. Researchers continue encouraging consumers to compare nutrition labels because sodium levels can vary considerably between different brands. Should I stop eating bread altogether? Not necessarily. Bread can absolutely be part of a balanced eating pattern. The key message from researchers is to be aware of sodium content and consider the overall dietary pattern rather than focusing on one specific food. One of the biggest misconceptions about sodium is that only obviously salty foods matter. In reality, Several moderate sources consumed throughout the day often contribute more sodium than one occasional salty snack. That's why reading nutrition labels has become an important part of healthy eating education. The next food often carries a healthy image. Many people choose it because it's quick, convenient, and high in protein. But depending on the variety, researchers have found it may also contribute more sodium than expected. Let's continue with hidden food number 3. Hidden food 3, deli meats. Ham, turkey slices, roast beef, salami, and other processed deli meats are common lunchtime choices. They're convenient and often rich in protein. However, processed meats frequently contain sodium that's added during curing and preservation. Researchers continue studying processed meat consumption as part of broader dietary patterns associated with cardiovascular health. This doesn't mean an occasional deli sandwich automatically raises blood pressure. Instead, healthcare professionals often encourage paying attention to how frequently highly processed foods appear in the diet. Many grocery stores now also offer lower sodium options, giving consumers more choices. Is fresh cooked chicken a better option than processed deli meat? Freshly prepared poultry generally contains much less added sodium than many processed deli products. However, nutrition can vary depending on preparation methods and added ingredients. One lesson repeated across nutrition research is that foods closer to their natural form often contain fewer added ingredients. That's one reason healthcare professionals frequently encourage building meals around minimally processed foods whenever practical. Before we reveal the final 3 hidden foods, here's something worth remembering. Researchers consistently report that most people underestimate how much sodium they consume each day. Not because they use too much table salt, but because sodium is often already added before the food ever reaches the dinner table. The next 3 foods are perfect examples of that. One of them is found in almost every pantry, and another is something many people eat almost every morning. Let's continue. Hidden food 4, pasta sauces. Jarred pasta sauces are convenient and can certainly be part of a balanced meal. However, many commercially prepared sauces contain more sodium than people realize. Manufacturers often add sodium to improve flavor and preserve freshness. What's interesting is that some sauces don't even taste particularly salty. That's why healthcare professionals often recommend comparing nutrition labels rather than relying on taste alone. Today, many brands offer lower sodium versions, giving consumers more flexibility when shopping. Does homemade pasta sauce contain less sodium? It can. Preparing meals at home gives you greater control over the ingredients, including the amount of salt used. However, every recipe is different. One of the advantages of preparing more meals at home is knowing exactly what goes into them. Researchers continue emphasizing that awareness, not perfection, is one of the most effective tools for improving long-term dietary habits. The next food surprises many people because it's often promoted as a healthy snack. In fact, some versions are, but others contain considerably more sodium than consumers expect. Let's look at hidden food number 5. Hidden food 5, salted mixed nuts. Nuts are widely recognized as part of many healthy eating patterns. They naturally provide healthy fats, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. However, many packaged mixed nuts are heavily salted. While the nuts themselves remain nutritious, the added sodium can significantly increase total sodium intake if consumed regularly in large amounts. Researchers continue encouraging consumers to compare products because sodium levels vary greatly between different brands. Unsalted or lightly salted varieties are also widely available. Should I avoid nuts because of sodium? Not at all. Nuts can absolutely be part of a balanced diet. The important point is understanding the difference between heavily salted products and lower sodium alternatives. Nutrition research consistently reminds us that it's often not the food itself, but how it's prepared and processed that makes the biggest difference. Small adjustments in food choices can gradually improve the overall quality of a person's dietary pattern. We've reached the final 2 foods, and they're probably the most unexpected on today's list. One is something many people eat with breakfast, while the last is commonly chosen because it seems like a healthier option. Let's continue with hidden food number 6. Hidden food 6, breakfast cereals. Many breakfast cereals are marketed as heart-healthy or whole grain choices, and some certainly can fit into a balanced diet. However, researchers have found that sodium content varies considerably from one cereal to another. Some cereals also contain added sugars alongside higher amounts of sodium, making nutrition labels especially helpful when comparing products. This doesn't mean breakfast cereal should be avoided. Rather, healthcare professionals encourage looking beyond the marketing on the front of the package and taking a closer look at the nutrition facts label. Choosing products with less added sodium and less added sugar may better support an overall heart-healthy eating pattern. Are all cereals high in sodium? No. Many cereals contain relatively modest amounts of sodium, while others contain considerably more. Comparing labels is one of the simplest ways to identify differences between brands. One interesting finding from nutrition research is that two foods sitting side by side on the grocery shelf can look almost identical, yet contain very different amounts of sodium. That's why informed food choices often begin with reading labels rather than relying on advertising claims. We've reached the final food, and it's probably the most surprising item on today's list. Many people choose it specifically because they believe it's healthier. Yet researchers continue reminding consumers that healthy doesn't always mean low in sodium. Let's finish with hidden food number 7. Hidden food 7, vegetable juice and tomato juice. Vegetable juices and tomato juices are often promoted as nutritious beverages because they provide vitamins and antioxidants, and they certainly can contribute valuable nutrients. However, many commercially prepared varieties also contain significant amounts of added sodium. Researchers point out that beverages can sometimes contribute to daily sodium intake just as much as foods do. Fortunately, many manufacturers now produce low sodium or no salt added versions. Again, the goal isn't to avoid these products completely. It's simply to understand what's in them so you can make informed choices that fit your overall eating pattern. Does drinking vegetable juice automatically raise blood pressure? No. Blood pressure is influenced by many factors, including genetics, age, physical activity, body weight, medications, overall dietary habits, and existing medical conditions. Researchers focus on overall sodium intake over time, not one individual food or drink. One of the strongest messages from cardiovascular nutrition research is that healthy eating isn't about eliminating one food. Instead, it's about recognizing where sodium may be hiding and building an overall dietary pattern rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, lean proteins, and minimally processed foods whenever practical. Let's quickly review today's 7 hidden foods. Canned soups, bread and bakery products, deli meats, pasta sauces, salted mixed nuts, breakfast cereals, vegetable and tomato juices. None of these foods automatically causes high blood pressure. Instead, researchers continue showing that small amounts of sodium from multiple foods throughout the day can gradually add up. Understanding where sodium may be hidden helps people make more informed food choices without feeling that they have to completely avoid the foods they enjoy. Should everyone follow a low-sodium diet? Sodium needs vary from person to person. Healthcare professionals recommend discussing individualized nutrition needs with your physician or registered dietitian, especially if you have high blood pressure or other medical conditions. Is sea salt healthier than regular table salt? While sea salt and table salt differ slightly in texture and mineral content, both contain sodium. Researchers generally focus on the total amount of sodium consumed, regardless of the type of salt. What's the most important takeaway? Rather than worrying about one single food, pay attention to your overall eating pattern. Reading nutrition labels, choosing minimally processed foods more often, and understanding hidden sources of sodium are practical ways to become a more informed consumer. I hope today's video helped uncover a few surprising sources of sodium that many people overlook. Remember, maintaining healthy blood pressure isn't about finding one perfect food or eliminating everything you enjoy. It's about building consistent habits that support heart health over time. If you found this new video helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future evidence-based men's health videos. And I'd love to hear from you. Which hidden food surprised you the most today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.